Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. For all the YouTube viewers, this one will be out for you. This is the regular weekly webinar we're putting out. I have good news for you. So during this week and maybe further on, if that works well, we'll be putting out the video every day. But it's not the full webinar that I normally do. It's going to be a small video in one or two pairs that actually has a setup or that has a nice consolidation that you're expecting an impulse to come out of, something that will be of interest, right? Not just all of the pairs, because most of them are just in consolidation and nothing happens for sometimes the whole week. So during the week, every single day, there'll be a short video on YouTube. I hope you like them. I hope you enjoy them. And if you do, please share them. So it's going to be really short, like maximum 5 minutes, maybe 6, 7, but around 5 minutes, I'll be trying to keep all the videos. So please watch, like, share, comment. Let me know what you think about them and we'll go from there. So today's video will be in 3 parts of the Forex, the stocks, and the cryptos. Depending on your liking, you can watch all or watch any one. If you like any one of them, please share it. So let's start. Dollar index. Dollar index, we're going up. We did break out of this pattern. We did break the low, which is very important. Once you break the low, 2 things you're expecting, either a reversal or correction. They broke the low, and I was expecting it to go much lower. It actually stopped just short of breaking the low, and it's going up. So in the big picture, if you look at it, right, could it be that we're going to turn from here and go up? I don't see the complete pattern whereby that is going to happen, right? This thing as it stands here is not a classical complete pattern, right? Even if you look at this as the top and we're reversing, then we're not supposed to go up, we're supposed to drop more. So if we're trying to do this, then I don't see why the upside is making sense, because that is too short, it has to be more. So what we've seen sometimes is what we call the fool me flat. It's where you get a perfect flat, they drop, break the low, and then they go back. So what happens sometime in that is that where you think there wasn't a flat, you end up with there's an expanding flat, which would be something like this, right? And that is after the fact when you go back. If this starts to drop, you will go back and say, well, where does this, where do you miss that? Because you will have to look for a very small impulse here that would fit with it. We normally don't do that in advanced time, because if you do that, what you'll find is start fixing the chart for too many. You want to let this prove it's coming down back, and then that becomes this pattern, which is an expanding flat in the middle. It's a rare pattern, it's not common, so you don't have to do that very often. You just let it be the way it is right now. And then we track what's happening in here. There was a buy setup here. There were short-term sell setups in the lower time frame. That would be in 15 minutes going down. But then it stopped. You would get a buy setup. If you took the trade, it would be here. You probably close it. Can it go higher? I think they can go higher. If this comes back here, this is a small flat. There's a chance you could go for one more impulse up. So it's a buy, but you will have to be aware that this could at any time turn, right? Especially if we think that there is an expanding flat in the middle. And that's just being cautious. It doesn't mean you don't take the trade. You take the trade, but now you're aware of the possibility that exists in these type of flats. And what you're going to do is you're going to manage that trade accordingly. That's all the difference. Knowing something is what is good, right? The knowledge that you have of what is possible will determine how you manage the trades you're in. You're not just expecting it to take off, because it might not take off, and it wouldn't surprise you if it starts to come down. If you get a sell setup at any point, you'll take the trade. So let's say for whatever reason this comes here, break the top, start to drop, you'll be out of that trade. If it continued to go good for you, you're in a good trade, right? We'll see where that leads to, and then we'll look back at the whole pattern to see what it does. But if it starts to reverse, you'll be out of that trade. And if at any point you get a sell setup during the week, we'll go for this trade, because now you would know that this was the correction and this is actually going to drop. Right? That's the whole thing about wave analysis, is that you're informed of what the possibilities are. So you're able to make better decisions in how you manage your trade. Let's go to silver. So silver, we have made the up move. We can make an argument for running flat with this sharp one, because we've had this sharp one here, did nothing. You might be able to, I don't know if it's a far stretch, but you might be able to look at it as this is a possible running flat as well for a 1, 2, 3, which means that if this is the one, then at some point here will start to drop. If this is the one, it could be a continuation pattern whereby this could continue to go. So if we get a buy setup here and it's consolidating, we'll take the trade. We'll take that buy setup, one more impulse, manage a trade, there's a good chance it can go higher. Can this go higher? And if it goes higher, where would it lead us? Well, let's go and look at it. This is what we have, right? We broke the low once, we broke the low twice. We're in this pattern. If you go back here, right? We're in this one. We broke that low once, we broke it twice. This move is coming down. Depending on how you look at that move coming down, the entire move, this entire move coming down. If if you want to look at this as a big running flat, this could be the end of the structure and we're going up. So if this is going up, what we would do is we look at it and say, well, this sharp wave and this sharp wave could be put as a possible expanding flat there. And that means this would continue to go. This would become the low. In any case, I'm anticipating the break of this stop. And then from that point, well, if this is not the low and we're in a bigger consolidation, which means all of this is some kind of a bigger flat forming to come back down one more, then go. We'll break this stop and then come back. So for now, you can look for short-term buy setups and then see how far they go and how fast they go. All right, so we'll look for a buy setup here today. And when it breaks the top, we'll try to manage that trade to see how far it goes. Take your profit out. If it didn't go very far, get out of the trade, see if you get a sell setup, right? So let's go. Gold. Remember, when you are in consolidation, it doesn't have to go very far. And since most of the time the charts are in consolidation, you have to get the parts of the impulse that you can get. Right? If you can't get this, okay, but the ones you can get, those are the ones you're the safer trades you're going for. There are too many pairs to go take a risky one, trade the safe ones. So let's go. Okay, guys, my voice might be giving me a problem because I have a cold over the weekend, and I hope it's not disturbing and you guys can hear me clearly. So we're in gold, and gold is doing exactly what we said it will do, and you know the way we're looking at it. So we're looking at this pattern. If you remember, go back to my past videos. We have two sharp moves, and we have this one, and we have a sharp move here, a move up, a sharp move. We were expecting this to go up sharp, and that would have ended the correction in here, but it's going up really slow. So it's going up more like this one here with that big flat in the middle. And that kinds of warn me that if that happens, then what is likely going to happen is that we're still in the correction. So we might break this stop, come back down as a sharp wave, probably go back up. Very likely go back up to complete this pattern. And if we do that, then we will have a 1, 2, 3 in the middle of this one and in the middle of this one. So if that proves to be what we think it is, we should come back down here, go back up there, and then start the down move, which would complete this B part of the flat pattern or the corrective part of it. With this being the impulse down and this being the correction, there's a good chance we'll get one more down. And this could either continue to go down for a very long time or stop short when they break the low and go back up. Which of those two is going to happen? I don't know. You don't have to know that because we have one move up, so you wouldn't know that, right? That's the unknown part. You don't know whether that one move is completing a bigger pattern and how low this could go before it goes back up. That is unknown. But you trade the pieces that you're going to trade. So the piece we're looking for a trade for is a trade to the upside. If we get that trade to the upside today, so breaking this stop and maybe all the way to this stop. And then we're going to look for the downside of that. So let's see if we get a buy setup here. It doesn't have an exactly buy setup at this point because unless you put an entry above the top and hope that this takes off, which is okay. If it goes really fast, that's a good trade. So you can put an entry here. If you have a strategy to trade that and you know how to manage it, is that this could take off. But if it goes really slow, you're going to stay here for a while and then go. So this one was a good one. If you bought here, you did well. And my traders, remember, you should have bought here. This is what we said, buy that, it consolidates here. Watch for that trade up. It's perfect. It's doing exactly what we want. The pattern is behaving and for a very long time we're tracking it and it's doing what you want it to do, right? So if you remember last week, I said this is going to come down. We were selling it. It could either stop here or continue to go. But if it stops here and it reverses, you look for this and you start to. Actually, we bought it earlier than that. And then we closed it because it started to consolidate and this is your next trade. So now that you broke the top, this is where you have to be careful. There may or may not be any more trade to the upside. Remember, this is a correction going up. And if you want to go back and look at all my webinars, starting from this point when this one was going up, I think it was from somewhere there we noticed it, that this is a corrective structure. And once this flat, originally we thought this would do 1, 2, 3, then go back up there. Instead, you get a running flat. And that's the thing about forecasting. You don't know which of those flats is going to form. You have an impulse and you start to get correction. It could be a regular flat. It could turn out to be a running flat like this. It could have been an expanding flat and then go. So, but it's going to do that. One of those patterns are going to happen. And when you see it, you know what you're looking at. So when it started to break the top, remember we said we're looking for a running flat, come back here, go back up. This is your buy. And then when it stops here, we'll start to look for sell. So when I come next week with the webinar, or if I do one of this during the week, you might see us in the sell coming down already. And that sell could literally go very far because the bigger picture is this one. The bigger picture is this impulse. This is the impulse. This is the correction. We're expecting one down. Now, the question, is that the end of it? No, not necessarily. I don't know for a fact that they don't make a lot more correction in it. What if this stops here, come back down, back like this again, and start to go back up? Right? You can do this for a very long time. It can become very complicated all the way to the top, even breaking the top. That does not change this from being a correction. I think we'll have to understand the way wave analysis work, right? If you're gonna look at it the way I look at it, then you have to understand where the correction is. Corrections can break the top, but that's an informative thing. Once it breaks the top, it tells you it's coming here and gonna go back up. That's all. You know now that you're dealing with a running flat, just like when we broke the top in this little one here, right? We know it's gonna come down and then it's gonna go back up. That is what you learn from this. But you never make the forecast that it's going to break the top, because you don't know that. You're not in the guessing work. You're saying if we have an impulse, we're going to get a flat and we're going to get the next impulse. That's the common prediction. Until you get this, and then you said, okay, we're not getting a regular flat, we're getting a running flat. Come here and then go back up. See, it's not about you deciding what the pattern is going to be, but you understanding what the pattern is and then taking advantage of that. Right? That's a huge difference of how we look at it. We look at trying to read the patterns, understand what it is, and understand how we can take advantage of it. Not deciding that it has to be this or it has to be that. Right? If it changes, we look at it and said, okay, great. We thought it was that. It changed to this. What we do now? So again, we'll be looking for selling. Why selling? Because every time you break the top, you sell. 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 We will, and one of them will be this. Is it going to be this one? I don't know. Maybe it consolidated, go, but every time it consolidate, pull back, consolidate, and go. These are good sells. The buys are also very good once you see the setup for it. Like this was a very good buy if anybody took that, right? If any one of you saw it and you took that trade, that was perfect. In our trading room, we made that call on Friday. Watch it, because that's a consolidation that will go up. So if this consolidates here, is more upside. Can it start the downside? Absolutely. I don't see the sell setup as yet, because this is more of a consolidation at this moment right now, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if they make at least one more impulse up. If it is going to drop, let it do this, drop here, make a flag like this that we can sell, and we'll start the selling. Pretty simple, right? So we don't have a sell setup at the moment, but we are keeping an eye on it. Euro USD. Yep. As we expected, this was going to break out to the upside. It did break the top. It dropped. This would have been a perfect sell. You're getting a possible another sell setup here. Here's the problem. Where would that lead us to? Just like the dollar index. We're not really expecting this to go up very far unless it's making a running flat like this, which is this one, right? Which is this. We were expecting that to happen. It didn't happen there. We were saying it's going to happen here. If it doesn't happen here, then it's going to happen somewhere later. This could still be just a pullback that would lead you back to the top. There, I explained that pullback on the dollar index. It's pretty much the same thing here. I would be looking for something like this before we continue to go down, right? If this is the start of the downside, which means if that's all a big flat there, this is all some kind of a big flat that we will call it with an expanding flat in the middle, and this is going to drop, we'll sell this. We'll take all the sells. But you must be aware that when you're selling here, it might not go very far because it's a different pattern. It's not the common pattern that you expect to go. So wait for this to pull back. I'll probably give this a chance to pull back, make a small flat, and then go for this trade. This one was more of a correction here, so that would have been a good sell. This is more of a flat forming here, and then go for the sell. We don't have a buy setup. Even if it is going to go up, we don't have a buy setup at the moment. We're looking for the sell setup. Pound. Perfect. It's more of a sell. I think we have a running flat in the middle. I don't think that's the end of the structure. Can we possibly be looking at a contracting flat? No, I don't think so. I think we're making a running flat there, which means I expect them to go back up once more. break the top, and then we'll see. We're kind of in this move, and we're now stuck in the middle here, right? Because if you get a flat in the middle here, this would go break the top, and it is going to come back down here. You have to have a flat here as well. Probably go back up. You'll have to have a flat here as well, if this is going to drop. See all this big flat? Look, the same thing here, right? Go back, make a big flat, and then drop. If we're making a big flat to drop, that is what it's going to. What if it's actually reversing to the upside? What if this is actually trying to go up? All of this is some big correction, and we're trying to go up. Well, I don't think this is the way it goes up, because this is going to give you a buy setup. We may or may not take it, depending on if we think there's risk reward to it. But then this will have to come back here and then take off. So if and when it comes back here, this would be a perfect buy to break the top. Even to break the top and come down, or to break the top and continue to go. So the buy would be amazing. Not this buy as it stands, but the next buy. But can we buy this? Sure, if we get a buy setup. You don't have a buy setup. So I would like this to just go break that up, start to come down, and we would sell. We would sell all of this. Right? We'll sell all of this back to break that low. If it doesn't break the top. If it breaks the top, then we'll sell it, but not to break the low, to make a running flat and go. So there's a number of ways of how this can change patterns. And I mean, really, in a lot of the ways this can change. This can stay right here, consolidate, drop, go back up, drop, go back up, drop. And now we're having something like this, making flats here, looking at one, looking at two, getting another flat here, coming down back for this one, and then going up. You can end up with a much bigger correction in here, even coming back to this low. So I'm not going to give you that forecast, because if that happens, we simply wouldn't be trading it. But if it starts to go up, if this goes up from here, I don't think you have a good buy setup. I'll just leave it, let it break it up, and then look for the sell setup to come down for this one, right? So if you're going to see a buy setup and you don't like this one, go to any pound pair that has a better buy setup. Simple. It's that simple. Sometimes you ignore the pair you're looking at because the trade is not a very good one. And most times, if you try to trade it, you'll get break even. You might even watch it go up and you will be losing in it because the pullbacks are very deep. Aussie USD. Sorry. Remember I told you about these powerful sharp waves, and they will always come back. If you're buying into this, be careful of that. That's a warning. That's the power of knowledge, knowing that it's going to happen. We bought here, we bought this, and then we said, okay, at the top here, we're not buying. It broke the top and dropped immediately. And I thought, well, now we're going to go for that running flat, but then they go up. So you didn't get that buy either. This sharp buy we didn't get. We got it in another trade, not the Aussie. That's a different story. When that happened, we were in another trade when Aussie was going up, because I didn't think this was going to go. Right? So we got that, and then it starts to come down, and we said, okay, you can get a few sales here, small ones, and now it's here, but it's pulling back. So it's not quite telling me that this would be how the flat is going to end. Either they go back like this and we get a trade, or it consolidates here, make one more and then go. This would be a three-wave structure, a 1, 2, and this one would have a 3 inside. That's okay. That's part of patterns that we see. So some one of the ways might be more complicated. Let's see if it goes up. We'll be looking for the buy. The sell setup here is not quite ready. Could it be that, you know, that's not a running flat and this was all your correction? This here was all the correction. This is the top, and we're going to drop. Well, if we see a flat pattern here that confirms that that is possible, we'll sell it. We'll go with the change. I don't like this one. It's too small. So we're not looking at it that way. We're waiting for the flat to tell us what is flat. Now, can this take off? I think it can, because in the bigger picture, we're in a big correction downwards. See? This is the big picture. We're in a big correction downwards. This correction is going downwards. So can this take off and go and break the top? Absolutely, at any time. That's possible, right? Can it stay here and then drop and then go break the top? Absolutely. Can it actually work its way back to the low? Those are options. So as of now, we're going to treat it as if it's going down more. And any buy to the upside would be assuming that it's going to take off. So we will take the trade and manage them. If it takes off, if there's a sudden sharp impulse, we stay with that trade. If it is not, we get the hell out of the trade. Right now, there's no trade setup, not for the buy, not for the sell. New Zealand, you've got the same thing. It actually came lower. So I'll take this out for now. It could still be the running flat. Nothing is stopping that. It could also be that this was an expanding flat, and that's the end of it. If I get a sell setup here, we'll sell it. We'll assume that that is it and we'll sell this. But for now, I'm still aware that that could be a running flat. We do not have a buy setup as yet, but it's possible we could get one today. We don't have a sell setup either. Yen, I'm more inclined to the buy on the Aussie and the New Zealand. So yen, that was the sell setup we took. That was perfect because we wanted it to go there. It's consolidating here. So the only question you would have is looking at this here and deciding whether we still have one more up, right? Could it be that this is a WXYXZ pattern with one more up and then come down? That is possible. So if you sold here, I think my traders took your profit off here. We're looking for this trade here now. Any consolidation here becomes a sell. So if this is to drop a little lower like this and pull back, we will sell that flat to the downside. If this is going to continue to go up, I think we might miss the buy. We might skip the buy because there is a buy setup there. I just don't like it, right? Because the up move is not a big one. And then from there, we're going to expect one more down. We're pretty much in this. What if this was the running flat? We also discussed that option. What if this here is the running flat? And this one is just making a very slow move to the upside, like with deep pullbacks, very deep pullback, but going up. Well, we know where it's going. I wouldn't be buying it here. I'll buy it probably much higher. Take off the sell. I'll buy it much higher because we know where it's going. It's coming to this target. All right, let's go to the daily. We're coming to this target. And go back and watch my webinars when it was in this consolidation, what we told you it's going to do. When it was in this consolidation here. And we said if they break out of this and consolidate, we're heading for this stop. All right, remember that one? I think we should all remember it because one trader promised to stop trading if it goes up. I think he's praying very hard now that it doesn't break the top. But as we know, in terms of wave analysis, it doesn't really have to break the top now, right? It can be a contracting flat. I still don't think it will be a contracting flat. I believe we'll break the top, so we'll see. When we break the top, what he's going to do. So let's see. We're about to get there. It's not a very far away. I don't see this as the one going. I think we'll make one more drop because I'm looking for a much deeper move down before we go, right? So what I'm expecting is that this to at least come to this level and then start the upmove. That would be a perfect flat. This would be a nice trade. If we get this trade today, we'll take it. If not, we'll see what happens and then we'll decide whether we get the upside. Swiss. And just in case you're wondering, how do we manage all of this? We update these charts a couple times a day, right? So Swiss went up, broke the top, came down, and now it's in the middle of nowhere. So let's put it here. This is what we're looking at. We're in this pattern. We did break that up, but we're not going anywhere. We're literally, after making this one, we're literally just making this and not consolidating it. This consolidation looks downside, right? You see they made a sharp move up and this consolidation looks downside. So we could be still, still consolidating in this for a long time. Come back here and then go back. So this consolidation is just getting really, really huge. And you wouldn't know what pattern you're looking at until it's completed. When you start to see that the simple patterns are becoming complicated, you sometimes just have to wait. So this looks downside. If we get a sell setup here, we'll take it. And if I get a sell setup here, I'll take it. I don't have a sell setup as yet. Also, we don't have a buy. So we'll wait for, if we see a setup, we'll trade it. If not, leave it in the middle of there. It's not going anywhere. It's not, you're not missing anything out of it. CAD, upside, we're looking for the buy. We don't have a buy setup in this trade, not even in the 1 hour. There might be a slight buy setup here in the 1 hour. It's a pretty risky one, but if you can manage the trade, it's worth taking. That is this. It's a high risk trade because all they need to do is break that top and it can come right back here. There's also a chance that they're going to break out of the pattern. That depending, a lot depends on how you look at what this pattern is in here, right? And it could be both. It could be a 1, 2, and a 3, and this one is going to go out. Or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and this comes back here for 5 and then go out. So if you're going to take this trade, you have to know how to manage it so that you're not, taking out of that trade with the loss. There is a buy setup there, and it can go. So keep your eyes on it if you understand. If not, wait for them to break out of this structure, make a flag, and then buy. That's the safer trade. Where this is going when we break that top? Well, there's a good chance we're coming to break this top, which means we're expecting an up move all the way to about a 270 here, and maybe higher. That depending on how you look at this. Is it making a correction here? Or is it starting a weekly impulse to the upside? Both of those are possible right now. EuroCAD consolidating, it dropped. It might continue to go up. So you can, because we've got a sharp move here and we're getting a kind of a sharp move here, but all the moves in it are sharp. So as it stands right now, you're in something here that is a big correction, right? See this, you had one like that here, very complex patterns. So we're getting the same thing here. Do we have a sell setup in it? A sell setup is a good idea. If you get a sell setup here, I'll go with that. If this turns out to be a sell, we'll sell it. Right? We don't have a sell setup in it yet. It's kind of consolidating. If they're going to make one more impulse for the upside and then come down, if they're going to break out, make a new high and then come down, we'll have to wait for the buy. You don't have the buy setup. You have more of a sell setup right now. Euros, it's coming down. Let's go to 4 hours. Structurally, we're doing this. We're in this big correction here and it's coming down. I could see them coming down more. I could see an impulse down to the downside here. Probably go back there, make an impulse here. And from that point, it's either going to go back up or it's going to break through. Again, it depends on how you look at this whole piece, right? So we'll look for sell setups at this point. Let's see if we have anything. Not as yet. We're more in a big correction. I could see this more as a bigger correction here. Come back here, go there, make a flat, and then drop. So there might be trades. There might be short-term trades in here, but the bigger trade will be this one if we get it. You're in New Zealand, sorry. Here in New Zealand, we were buying. I think, sorry. Yeah, we were buying and then it started to correct. We closed 2 trades. We leave one and then we close the second one. When this made that spike up, we closed the last trade here, right? Because we realized we were making correction more lower and it came down pretty low. So we're starting to buy again. This is making a flat. And if this makes a flat, it's probably going to go one more down. So the buy was, this buy was for this small flag there, but it came deeper. The only question you would ask is, well, is this making a running flat or is it starting up move? This could be a running flat or this one, and we drop some more and then go back up. We'll look for sell setups. But what if you're actually going up and this is the end of the structure, we're going up? Well, we have to have a very good flag, which means if I see this turning out to be a really good consolidation for upside, we might take the risk of buying and then put it to positive. Because you don't want to be tagged in an expanding flat that is coming down. You'll have to get out of that trade. Can it be an expanding flat and still come down? Well, if it's an expanding flat, you'll have to get out of the trade by managing it correctly. Most likely, I think we're going to go up. This could be the end of the structure. We're going up. This could be all the consolidation we get there. So let's see which is it. To the downside, the trade is probably useless. You don't have a trade set up. To the upside, we'll look for the trade. We'll definitely be looking for a buy setup. Euro Swiss. So came down, you broke the top and it's dropping. So can we be going down back to retest the low? Let's see if we have any big pattern that says so. Possible. This is a sharp move. This is a sharp move and this is a series of sharp moves. I thought we'll just stop short at this one here and then come back here and then go back up, right? But we actually broke the top. So it's coming down. I think we could get something like this, down back to the low here, and maybe even make another one up. Complete a bigger pattern here before it drops. Go back to the 1 hour. If you're going for that sell, there's a short-term seller, you have to be really careful, right? Because we have to exclude the possibility of an expanding flat here. So if you're going to sell this, you have to be careful that it could just do this and make a new high. All of that will be within the bigger corrective structure. So the sell, if you're taking it, you have to take it very cautious. There was a better sell at this point to break the low. So let's wait and see if you get a perfect flat. I think you still need some more waves in this one before you sell, which means I want this to go back to the top here, make a flat, and then I'll look for a sell setup. That would make more sense to me. Euro yen, go back to the 1 hour. So it actually went all the way to the top and now we're coming back. So the downside is okay. I just don't think they're going to come much deeper. It's coming too deep. So this might be some kind of a smaller contracting flat today, not the running flat we're looking for. This sell was a great idea if you had it, if you get the sell. But this is coming back, which means we could end up here and then go. We could go back to retest the lows, go back, retest the lows, and then go, because then this would become just a big correction in here. Just like this was a big correction in this one. So let's see if we get any sell setup here. Not at the moment. But if it consolidates, we'll sell. So if this here consolidates, which means if this do something like this, give us a flat like that, we'll go for the sell. This was a good sell if if you're looking at it. So let's see if we get the sell set up here to retest the low and then the upside. Expecting one more sell, retest the low within this correction. Just come here, retest the low, and then we'll go back up. We're going to be breaking this low now. Sorry, this one. That's the low we want to break. And then the upside. Euro pound. It's still going sideways. So let's see what it looks like in the 4 hour. You can look for a buy setup here, actually. We sold that. That's a sell because you had a flag there. And you had a flag here, you sell. I think you should close that trade if you're still in the sell, at least move the stops. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually go up from here. Right? Let's see if we have that possibility. It could, depending on how you look at it. Look at this piece from this one, this point here, right? Look at it like this piece here coming down. It just keeps dropping, going back up, going back up, going back up. Every time you break the lows, you tend to go back up. So if it's coming down, the sell is not a great idea, right? But if it starts to go up, the buy would be a better idea. So let's leave this alone. If we get a buy setup, we'll take it. If it's to give you a sell, you probably sell something else. CAD. This is going sideways and we're in a bigger sideways move. So we've got this move down, you've got that move up, and you're making a flat here. But you're making a second flat at the top there, which means either this is the top and we start to go down now, or we go make a new high and then start to come down. So we're looking for the downside. Let's go to the 1 hour. Within a structure like this, one of these becomes the top, right? This might go there, make a top, come back here, and then go. And that'd be perfect. We're looking at this. It's a 1, 2, 3. Come back here, break the low, and then go. So you can't really, I wouldn't buy anything here, although it's a buy setup. I'll leave it alone whenever we should top. But if I get a flag here, I'll sell this to break the low. So we'll make an assumption that this is the top. This is the flag, and if that flag drop, you go for this trade and hope that it breaks the low before you go back up. So we'll have this flat and then the upside. So if we get a sell set up here, we'll take it. First back to this level and then hope that it breaks the low. So more of a sell setup than a buy that I'm looking for. Bangos. Sorry, guys. If you get a buy setup here, that'd be a trade we can take to make a new high, right? Because you can see that this could likely go make a new high. I expect this to probably go make a new high somewhere here. So if this turned out to be a flat day for a buy, we'll take the trade. Pang Yen. Yeah. Something you guys should learn. This is a correction. And that's why it goes up slow, but it drops really fast. Right? The up moves are slow, but the down moves are going to be really fast. Now that we broke the top of this, we're assuming that it's a running flat and that this is going to come to about this level and probably make one more high. So let's look at it from a daily point of view, right? So I explained also why we don't trade some of those corrections. I hope you're learning something. So for my good friend who has a problem with his ego and keeps shouting that is bullish, I don't know where you see bullish in this. Right, so you probably need to take a very good look at how you trade, because that could be disastrous for you, right? If you don't understand, and if you're very convinced that something is going to do that and it doesn't do it, but you keep insisting, then you will get yourself in trouble. So just for your own, thing, I hope you're learning something. So what we're looking at is we made a top here. Now the question, if that was the top, we would not be coming back to retest it. So I don't think that's the top. I don't also think that this one, retesting it, is actually making a new high. So I would assume that it will come here, make a new high, probably come back here and then do that. You can see they've done that many times, right? Those very complex corrective structures. So that is a possibility that we can also make an argument of whether we would look at this as a running flat. Right? Whether you look at that as a running flat, this comes back here, make a new high, and then it starts to drop. Well, it will eventually drop. And it's not a case, well, someday it will drop if you just keep saying it's going to drop. It's looking at the patterns and say when you think it's going to drop, right? So you're looking at this, and if you're trying to buy this to the upside, you will get yourself in trouble. Try doing it sometime, you will see. I tried buying this and see what you would do with it, especially when it starts to drop like this. Especially if you're buying in the 5 minutes and you're hoping that each one of those pull back, you will not close the trade, you'll find yourself in very big trouble sometime, right? So the sells are going to be amazing. Like these sells were very good. These sells we took were very good because they dropped really fast. So if we get a sell setup here today, and I'm hoping this becomes a sell setup, which is pull back to that level, give us a sell here, that'd be a very good trade. If it continues to go, we'll wait for a pullback, make a running flat, and then look for the sell setup. So I'm expecting to get more of a sell setup. I don't know if any of my traders managed to get into this one earlier, but we'd look for a sell setup to come back to at least this low. If I'm wrong about that, and this was all just this big correction, this is the top and we're dropping, we're coming back to this level. But first I wanted to exclude this running flat here. And I wanted to exclude that. So come back here first, prove that this is not a running flat, go back to the top. If it drops low, good for me. I'm looking for the sell. The sell to the downside is faster. So keep an eye out and look for it. And by the way, the idea of bullish and bearish is a little too far stretched. Those terminologies will get you in trouble because the market goes up and down all the time. So you can't really be bullish or bearish in something unless you think it's going to trend for 4 years in one direction. Right? The corrections are so deep that if you're bullish in something and you're holding it, I think my good friends from the Bitcoiners learned that. The one who was buying at the top of Bitcoin, not that it's not going to go back up, but it dropped from 6,000 from how much? 6 to 9 to about how much? 30? 50% of the drop. Would you want to live through that? So if you're bullish, maybe good for you, but then you're wasting your time. Quite a lot of it you're wasting there. And you're lucky that if it goes up now, what if it takes 2, 4, 3 years or 4 years to get to the top there? That's how long you would have to wait. Just because you've convinced yourself that you're bullish on Bitcoin. I'm saying look at the patterns. Forget about being bullish or being bearish. Look at the patterns, and the patterns tell you what you're going to do and what has the higher probability. And the higher probability is for you to catch an impulse. Because it's either going to go or it's not going to go. If it doesn't go, you get a hell out of it. If it goes, you get a good trade. Perfect. That's it. If you keep doing that day in, day out, you're going to get very nice impulses. That's all there is to it. So let's see if we can get an impulse here today. That would be perfect. Pound New Zealand going sideways. Right? So you can see it's all going sideways. The bigger picture is crawling up slowly but surely. On a daily, you're pretty much on a big corrective structure, huge corrective structure. And if this is going to continue to go to retest that top, then we'll have to decide what this structure is really, how we would look at it, because it's really huge. So come back to the 1 hour and let's deal with the up move that is on the 1 hour and that is going really, really slow. And do I want to buy at the top here anywhere? Do I see a buy setup that I think it is good enough to take there? No. Even in the 15 minutes, it's not a good one, right? There isn't a good one because every time they move a little, they pull back pretty deep. So what you can do is leave the pound New Zealand alone. Go trade any other New Zealand pair that has better setup or any pound trade that has better setup. Pound yen to the downside is a better one. Any other pound trade to the upside you want to take, great, go look at it. Pound Swiss. Take this out, that would not be, that was different setup. That's coming back to break the low. So we're looking at this a number of ways in this corrective structure. This is also correction. This is the sharp move down. You can either make an assumption that this is over at this point, right? I don't think it is. Or you can make an assumption that we're making it here now, which means this comes back a little, maybe retest that top and then drop, right? It will come back down. The question is it coming down now? See, is it coming down now here all the way to the bottom? Or is it going to go back, make a new high first? Come back here, make a new high first, and then come down like this. Right? Which one of those two we're going to get? Because this is going to come back then, right? See these? That's why we know those are going to drop. That's why we know these were going to drop. It's doing the same thing here. And eventually they drop. So if you're prepared for those drop, you get very nice trades out of them. You get very nice trades out of them. So if we're prepared for the drop, we just wait for this to give us a setup. Is there a setup for a sell right now on it? Yep, we have a sell setup here. It's an active trade. My trader should be in, and if we take the trade, we'll have to manage it. Give it some time and then manage it, right? So there's an active trade there if that's going to go. If it's not going to go and we're going to make a new high, we'll have enough time to get out of it, close it, go for the buy, and then go back for the sell. Aussie yen. Same here. Good sell setup. Right. This one is literally just going sideways. So if you stay out of it, you stay out of this a little, no problem. It's coming down. Do we go for the sell? Let's see if we have a sell setup. Not as yet, but if it does pull back, we can sell it. This does pull back here. We can sell this. That'd be a good sell. So let it pull back first and then go for the sell. Sorry guys, 1 minute. Yep, sorry about that. Let's go. Aussie CAD. Aussie CAD will look for a sell setup. I think we will get that today. It's pulling back already. You actually want this to pull back a little here, and that we will be getting a sell setup downwards. So we'll take the trade. Sell setup is a good idea. If that starts to go, we want the trade. If it goes back up deeper, then we will not get the sell, we'll ignore it. But if you get the sell setup, it's a good one. You can see that every time they drop. If you look at that side, every time they drop one, they drop one, they drop one. So if this drop here, you get a good trade. Break the low, take your profit. Right? You might take it before then. Aussie, New Zealand. It's still going up, but not a very good trade. So probably stay out of it. I don't know if you want to take a chance at the buy. There's a buy setup there. Aussie, Swiss. It's coming down. That's something we expected. If we get a sell setup, we go for the trade. All right, so we're anticipating that this is going to be 1, 2, and we go back here for the 3, and this should drop to the bottom. See, we wanted to break the top and then drop, and that's what it's doing. So let's see if we get a sell setup. Not as yet. Probably the next pullback will give you a set. If it pulls back once more, we'll get a good sell setup on it. If not, wait for a flag, take the trade. New Zealand, Swiss, I'll just complete the Forex pairs and then look for sell setups. New Zealand CAD. Okay, here you have to be careful now because this can go back up, right? This can go back up one more and then drop. So make sure you get a flag here before you sell it. Just make sure there's a 1 hour flag there before you sell. It's a good sell, but you want to make sure you get the flag. New Zealand, yeah. We get a sell setup, go for it. You should be in the sell already. I think there was a flag here. Yep, there was a nice 1 hour flag here. Go for that trade. CAD yen. This was the sell. If you closed it, look for another sell setup. It's breaking out, by the way, so you get another sell setup, go for it. Swiss yen. I think we stay out of this one. There's a possibility for one more. I think you can see that there's a possibility that it could do this if we go for a running flat here. So be careful in the sell in this one. And CAD Swiss. Yeah, if you're taking the sell, it's short term, right? It's not going very far. So there was a sell setup there. If you take it, just watch it when it breaks this low. We're still in this pattern here. And then we're going to deal with this one and this one. So it's still probably a trade more to the downside. So if any one of you took that trade, there's a good setup for the trade. Perfect there. If anybody took that trade, keep an eye on it. It might not go very far before it starts pulling back, right? By the way, CAD is breaking already, so I hope you took the CAD trade. So let me show that very quick. This would be a setup that we call the trader. The CAD, if you're taking this CAD trade, this flag, when it comes to the top there, put it to break even. This flag here, right? So when that comes to the top here, put it to break even. If you're not in the flag, you wait for it to break, make a flag, and then go. So thank you. I hope you managed to watch it to the end. For all the traders on YouTube, if you like it, share it. What I'll try to do is cut this down again, and there will be a lot of short trades this week on YouTube. So keep following me, and you'll get them. Set your notification to get them whenever they're out. Thank you very much. See all of you.